One of my favourite things to do in the countryside is to forage. But in the autumn, the woods come alive with one thing I'm a little wary of picking: wild mushrooms. Many varieties can be deadly, so I'm getting some expert advice.
Today, hopefully, we're going to find some really easy to identify edible types like the porcini.
Marlowe Renton knows everything there is to know about wild mushrooms, and there's no better place than right here in the New Forest. Wait a minute.
Well,
I can see a treasure here. Just look at that, that's a porcini.
that is a porcini mushroom.
Oh,
Certainly is. And I'm sure you recognise this mushroom as well.
A porcini, penny bun,
Yeah.
or
The sap
a sap. The smell. The smell is so wonderful, and that to me is the king of mushrooms.
It is just about the tastiest mushroom that you get in the wild in the UK.
I hope there's some more to find.
That's the first mushroom we've found. This is obviously going to be a good day. It's very important to know the poisonous mushrooms when you're out foraging, probably more so than knowing the actual edible mushrooms.
Of the 3,500 varieties of mushrooms, about 100 make for good eating, and around 30 are deadly poisonous.
Over here, by the looks of it, there's a very dangerous looking little mushroom here. The Amanita family is a really important family for foragers to know about because it contains the most poisonous mushrooms in the UK. And in this family, there's the death cap, which obviously doesn't sound very edible. And this one, which is the destroying angel, responsible for the majority of the mushroom poisoning deaths that I've heard about in the last few years.
So if you don't know what it is, don't pick it, don't eat it.
Exactly.
If you are not brave enough to go picking by yourself, stick to the huge variety you can find in the shops. Now, to make the most of them, here's a favourite of mine. These are the mushrooms that I've chosen: smidgey, golden enoki, oyster, shiitake, and my real favourite, chestnut mushrooms, sometimes known as brown mushrooms. Start by frying 3 slices of Parma ham in a little oil. It could be Black Forest, it could be Serrano, and you can also, if you look far enough, you can get British dry-cured ham. And I want it to become beautifully crispy. In the same pan, add a little butter and lightly fry 2 slices of brioche. The aim is to get all this lovely gubbins in the bottom from the ham, which is salty and a delicious flavour. There you are, absolutely perfect. Now to the mushrooms. I'm going to take some of the stalk off, and then these little chaps. I find the secret of this is to put the lid on for a few moments so that the steam comes up and makes them soft. When the mushrooms have softened, take the lid off so any extra liquid will evaporate. Then I'm going to add a dollop of creme fraiche, full fat of course. Don't make the mistake of using low fat creme fraiche. It wants to be really rich and a good consistency. And it's ready. Really looks delicious. Top it all off with the crispy ham and a few parsley leaves. I think that looks so tempting. Do you know, I'm just going to pinch a little bit off the side and a bit of bacon. They won't miss that bit, will they? I think that is a great light lunch, especially if you've got the girls coming around or you've played a game of tennis or golf or something. Come home and have that. Brilliant. One thing we're lucky enough to have in abundance is game. But it can seem daunting to cook, So if you're unsure about giving it a try, here's a pheasant dish that is very simple and delicious. When I was young, we had quite a few of the blessings from the countryside. We'd have rabbit and mustard stew, we'd have a casseroled pheasant. You could go to your butcher and get those, and they weren't on ration, so you can imagine we had them quite often. Start by seasoning the pheasant breasts and sear them in a hot pan in oil and butter. Before I turn them over, I'm going to put a little bit of pepper and salt on the second side. It's worth giving game a chance, but you could just as easily use chicken breasts. Look at that for a lovely colour. Just golden, just round the side there, and quickly turn it over. You don't want to cook them through. I want them still raw in the middle. Put the breasts to one side and start your sauce by cooking one roughly chopped onion in the same pan. So those look pretty good to me. They're translucent, they're not too brown. Now add 2 level tablespoons of paprika, 1 tablespoon of light muscovado sugar and 300 ml of double cream. This is rich, it is full of flavour, it is sheer luxury. Gosh, that's a wonderful colour. Now I'm going to add the pheasant back into that wonderful mixture. Wait a minute, there's a bit of juice, I want that in there. That'll all add to the flavour. And I've got that on a very low heat, and I'm just going to let that cook away for a few minutes. In a separate pan, fry off 250 grams of sliced chestnut mushrooms in a little butter. It may seem fussy to do them separately, but it makes all the difference. They get a little bit of colour, you evaporate some of that liquid, and they don't look sort of pale and insignificant in the dish. Finish it off with a handful of chopped parsley. This is the part I like most. Everything's ready. I like to serve it with some creamy mashed potato and some young broad beans. What could be nicer? And lastly, here comes our pheasant. And plenty of sauce to go with it. Now who could resist that? My pheasant breasts with a rich creamy sauce with mushrooms and paprika.